The market has been on a massive run over the last few weeks, but can it maintain this upward momentum? Let's talk about it. Good evening, my fellow Riz Elite members and all our subscribers on YouTube. Welcome to our weekly market recap webinar. My name is Chris. I'm part of Riz International, and we are a group of traders who are looking to better ourselves through community. And we do these weekly market recap webinars for all of our members. And of course, we post them up afterwards to YouTube. But if you're a member, you get to ask us questions live. When Riz is here, you get to talk to Riz directly. And we're going to give you an idea of what we're looking at. So what has been going on? So, the week before we had the CPI numbers come out, and they weren't so great, but the market dipped early, bounced, and then retraced somewhat the Friday before. Then the following week, we kind of ramped up. We were selling off, and then Friday we had this huge push, which seems to be a bit of a pattern lately, because we were able to continue that momentum into this week, pushing up over 3,800. That was one of the questions we had on webinar last week, was will we see 38 or 3,900? And well, the answer is in less than 6 days it happened, which is a little bit surprising, honestly. There has been so much movement in the market. It is so volatile right now. It is very, very difficult to trade. We've been having mixed success, but mostly our members are profiting, especially if you are in on that dip buy list that is available only to our members, Riz's strategy for how to buy in this market. And if you did that, you are in good shape. I'll tell you that right now. So made a massive push right up to this resistance level of 3,900, right near the close, pushing right up to that 100 moving average as well, the orange line right there. And this rally was based off of a potential catalyst that the Fed may be easing up on interest rate hikes. Notice I said they may be doing it. We don't know for certain, but we're going to find out on Wednesday, because that is when the Fed meeting is. And if I had to put money on it, I'm still saying 75 basis points. That's my theory. I think that if they start going back to, either no interest rate hikes, or they cut it back to like 25 basis points or something like that, I just think that that's a little bit irresponsible if you ask me, especially with the CPI numbers still continuing to go up. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that, that's for sure, and you should definitely be aware of that as well. Of course, all of our elite members will be making announcements when those numbers are released so that you know what's going on. We'll be keeping an eye on the market, but if I had to guess as far as what's going to be happening here, I suspect that there will be a lot of trepidation going into Wednesday. There's going to be a lot of people wondering, what way are they going to go with it? What's the Fed going to do? What are they going to say? And so a lot of the directionality probably towards the end of the week, Wednesday moving forward, will be based off of that Fed announcement catalyst. Of course, there are always other things going on. We have huge sets of earnings going on this week. Let me take a look. I saw that Paul posted that earlier. Let's see here. We've got Eli Lilly reporting on Tuesday before the opening. Pfizer, Uber, Airbnb, AMD reports after close on Wednesday. Let's see. Philips is going to be reporting on Tuesday. A lot of them on Tuesday. GSK, GlaxoSmithKline reporting on Wednesday. Etsy, Marathon, Roku, a lot of different big names that we've, traded here before that are going to be, releasing this week. So you're going to want to be keeping an eye on that. Starbucks is going on Thursday. PayPal, I'm sure that'll go just fine. Everybody's favorite, payment service provider. A lot of big names this week. BP is on Tuesday, so there's a lot of oil companies. Marathon's on Tuesday, so there's going to be a lot of oil companies and energy companies early in the week, as well as big pharma, and then we get into some of the other names later in the week. And so there's going to be a lot going on this week, to say the least. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that, of course, in Elite. We're going to be keeping you abreast of everything happening. But if you're just watching the replay here on YouTube, you're going to have to catch it next weekend when we release our next webinar. But if you haven't done so already, make sure you click that like and subscribe button for me. I'd really appreciate it. All right, taking a look here at the different market sectors, everything is kind of curling up with the market, which is definitely a very nice sign for a lot of our positions, some of which we've been holding for some time. But utility and healthcare really starting to make a big pickup here following the S&P 500 financials getting a big boost. And tech and real estate still underperforming, but also starting to curl upwards. So definitely a good sign. Energy on an absolute tear right now, going absolutely nuts, up almost 56% on the year so far. Of course, a lot of that tied to the price of oil, but oil has been kind of taking it easy lately. You know, we kind of started to push back upwards here going into Friday's close, but let's see, where did we close at? Right at 87.90 per barrel for light crude. So definitely holding over this 85 area, which has seemed somewhat strong. It has moved through pretty easily as of late. That's more of this inflection point here, which may longer not be valid. Excuse me, may no longer be valid. There we go. We can speak. But definitely pushing up here over the 50 moving average, holding over it, and looking to try and retake that 200. We'll have to see if we can get there. One thing that's not going to be retaking the 200 anytime soon is going to be gold. Gold in a massive downtrend here. A lot of this tied to the strength of the dollar currently. Of course, if we're relying on how much gold is being traded in US dollars, the stronger dollar, the weaker gold is going to look. But that being said, gold rather, really in a downtrend here, has been for quite some time. Riz gave his expert analysis on webinar last week on gold, so make sure if you haven't seen that to go ahead and check out that replay here on the channel. It's just one video back. Taking a look at Bitcoin, very interesting activity here in Bitcoin. We're having a little bit of a, little mini rally here on Bitcoin, pushing over 20,000. We haven't seen that number in quite some time. It feels like we really only have traded over 20,000 a few times over the last month and a half. But really, kind of getting a little momentum here, a little bit of uptick on Bitcoin. Not really anything I'm ready to jump on. Don't expect us to be hitting, 48,000 anytime soon. I'd like it if we did, but I'm not expecting it. But definitely a nice little push here on Bitcoin, also following the market. So we'll have to see if that continues. Really kind of sitting right on this 100 simple moving average. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see that a bit better. Right there, just kind of hanging out right next to that 100. We'll have to see if it can breach and push over because it hasn't been able to in quite some time. Looks like the last attempt we had was here on the 15th, and then we did it again on September about 13th. And now we're just kind of sitting here. So we'll have to see if we can push over that moving into next week. Of course, we don't hold Bitcoin currently, but if you do, be very, very careful. Now's the time for our Q&A session for all of our folks who are here live. I had everybody go ahead and get their questions ready ahead of time, so I see people are typing furiously right now. A lot of big names, a lot of movers this week. Let me pull this up. If I'm not mistaken, I think we got into... where did we go? There we go. Yeah, while people are typing, I'll go ahead and we can talk about a couple of these bigger names. Microsoft and Amazon were two big ones that we got into this week. Obviously, on earnings, they're getting absolutely crushed. So if you were able to get in, here either on Wednesday or Thursday, you're looking pretty good going into the close on Friday. Other one was Amazon. Amazon got absolutely slaughtered on earnings, even though they beat. Looks like there was a little bit less revenue expected there, and perhaps guidance was lower. I didn't read the report, but really huge sell-off on Amazon here. Nice little bounce. If you're able to get in around the $100 mark, that's a pretty darn good price for Amazon, if you ask me. So that would have been a great entry. Panos is saying, since Europe is getting hit hard as it is it wise to short some European stocks? Now, it really depends on what you're shorting. I would say, European energy stocks, in my opinion, are going to get hit pretty hard this winter. But that being said, I'm also aware that there currently are basically the reserve tanks for LNG, liquid natural gas, are currently full for Europe and England specifically. So they have tankers of liquid natural gas sitting there on the docks waiting to be picked up. Now, that being said, you have to understand that these reserve tanks are somewhat similar to the strategic oil reserve here in the United States. They aren't meant to be, run on the country basically long term. They're there for strategic short term use if necessary. So it's kind of similar to, in my opinion, somebody who's, going out in the desert. They totally load up on water, the point of almost being sick, and they feel like overloaded on water, and then one day later they have no water. So kind of think of it that way. So I would just be careful with that, especially if we're looking at, European natural gas stocks. Those will definitely be, in bad shape. As far as the European markets as a whole, yeah, they're getting hammered pretty bad. Obviously, there's a lot of concern about energy this winter. A lot of talk about it, especially with the pipelines getting hit recently. So you definitely could take a starter position short if that's something you want to do. I don't have any particular stocks, European stocks, I'm going to be looking to short. But Larry wants us to take a look at Google, Riz's favorite. Oops, wrong one. There we go. So another one getting hammered here post earnings. We're seeing a lot of tech companies getting slammed on earnings as of late. Looks like Google missed by about 20 cents. That's a 16% miss, not insignificant. Of course, they're still making money, which is, good. They missed a paltry almost $2 billion in revenue, but still making a, ridiculously low $69 billion. In this earnings season. So yeah, really doing terrible. Obviously worth the slaughter on Google here. Great entry if you were following our alerts earlier. But yeah, I totally behind this one. Honestly, I am with Riz 100% on this. If you have a longer time frame on Google, you should be very happy to go ahead and get in here. If you're not in already, definitely look to take a starter position here fairly soon, because I'm not sure when we'll see sub $100 on Google in the near future. So I like it. I think it looks really good. I know they've missed on their last couple earnings here. Of course, we had the split, which brought Google's price down to earth so that normal folk like you and I could actually trade it. But yeah, really, really solid company. Fundamentals are great. And yeah, I would have no problem holding Google a little bit longer than we usually do here. To make it work, because long term you're going to be just fine on Google. If you're looking to swing it short term, obviously, and the push in the market on Friday really pushed Google up here. We were selling off post earnings pretty hard, but we got that boost from the market. Let's look here. It looks like we are sitting on a little bit of technical resistance here, so that could be something to keep an eye on. Of course, not the end all be all of everything, but just something to note. Definitely something going on here right around this 96.60, 96.50 area. You'll see that there's typically a lot of action around the $half marks. I saw this in another life when I was a day trader. You do see a lot of work there on some of these stocks. It looks like we've got some space here up to about 100, so 150. So I mean, if you want to swing this, short term, I could easily see a $5 per share run up on this, but I could see Google going a lot higher than that if you want to hold a bit longer. But, short term, if you're looking for that, I think, a run maybe up to 100, 105, pretty reasonable. But longer term, I think you could get a lot more out of it. Hey, no problem, buddy. Glad you made it. I know you said you just made it home in time, so I really appreciate that you made it, Larry. It's always great to have you here on the show. YouTube panelists, of course, we've got several people here. We got Casey, Ken, Larry, Michael, Nick, Panos, Steven, and many more. Glad that you all are here this evening. It's great having you live on the show. I really appreciate it. And so I'm not seeing any other questions, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it tonight. We got a weekend. We got things to do. There's so much going on in the world, guys. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Go out, have some fun this weekend. I don't care whether that's going to buy an ice cream or going to go see a movie or just do something for yourself. Enjoy the time. I know it's unseasonably warm here in Indiana, so if it's warm where you are, maybe try taking a walk or something like that. Get out, enjoy nature while you still can before it gets ridiculously cold this winter. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all our viewers on YouTube, and we will see you in the market on Monday.